The attorney representing former Trump lawyer Jenna Ellis has come forward with why she decided to take a plea deal. Ellis pleaded guilty in October to aiding and abetting false statements and writings, felony that carries a maximum sentence of 5 years in prison. She will not be getting that. Now, as a result, of course, her taking a plea deal. Frank Hogue, one of Ellis's attorneys, actually told the Atlanta Journal-Constitution in an exclusive interview that when they'd originally met with Fulton County prosecutors, they're actually offered a deal. Deal not so good for Ellis. It was actually to take a RICO charge. They dismissed it outright. Hogue told the outlet, quote, that was about a 3-second conversation, long enough to say, no, we're not doing RICO. So, wait. They had the first deal. Admittedly, not a good deal for Ellis. Okay, if I were lawyers, it'd be like, okay, well, not good, right? So what changed, though? Why did they accept a new deal? Well, first of all, it was a better deal. And second of all, as I'm going to explain, it was the result of other people that actually took a deal first. In fact, over the next couple of days, they'd gotten this better offer because of the surprise guilty pleas of Sidney Powell and Kenneth Chesebro. Laid the groundwork for her own deal with the prosecutors, as he explains. It looked like timing was of the essence for us. And of course, this deal involved no jail time and the possibility that they would let her keep her law license. So I don't know who approached who. The lawyer was not specific on whether or not the defense approached her legal team, or if her legal team had approached the prosecutors. Sorry, I meant prosecutors when I said defense. I don't know how I got that mixed up. But anyway, she did take that deal regardless, because, again, it was a much, much better deal for her, especially since it's the possibility of her keeping her law license. Very important. Now, here's what Hogue said. I think what really accelerated it was the Powell and Chesebro falling as they did, one right after the other. So this was actually right before both of their trials, something that's different from Ellis, because Ellis actually had some time before her trial. So, again, seeing those two dominoes fall was like, oh, wait, they're taking deals. Maybe I need to get on something. Now, Hogue said a priority during negotiations was to ensure that Ellis could keep her law license, or at least not close the door to the possibility of being able to keep her law license. Prosecutors did clarify that Ellis didn't commit a crime of moral turpitude, which is conduct contrary to justice, honesty, or morality. Look, part of her plea is like, oh, I was misled by these other lawyers with much more experience. I was just along for the ride. Again, her tearful apology was filled with her basically throwing the rest of Trump's legal team right under the bus. In fact, here's her apology. In the frenetic pace of attempting to raise challenges to the election in several states, including Georgia, I failed to do my due diligence in basically listening to the other lawyers. If I knew what I know now, I would have declined to represent Donald Trump in these post-election challenges. I look back in this whole experience with deep remorse for those failures of mine. So, again, I listened to the people like Giuliani and these other lawyers, and boy, did they really steer me in the wrong direction. Let me tell you what. Oof, if I'd have known better, oh well, sad day. Now, speaking of the other lawyers, Hogue in this interview brought up Giuliani, and I think this is really interesting. He said, quote, I think there's enough for Mayor Giuliani to worry about that wouldn't have anything to do with Jenna Ellis. Oh, interesting. I mean, she wouldn't be a help to him, I don't think, if she was called to be a witness. Oh, wouldn't be really helpful, but not saying that she has damaging information on Giuliani either. Again, interesting. He said, I think his troubles extend far beyond her. He ain't wrong. He ain't wrong about that. Now, look, as part of her deal, Ellis did agree to cooperate with prosecutors, which could make a potential witness against Giuliani and even against Trump. So that's what made her statement a lot more interesting to me, she was required to apologize in writing for her role to the people in Georgia, but she actually went above and beyond making that video statement to the court. Now, she tried, of course, to save herself by casting herself as someone who is not knowledgeable as the other lawyers, kind of along for the ride. I don't necessarily think that's the case. I think that she definitely knew a lot more, definitely believed a lot more than she's trying to, claim that more along for the ride. That said, the reason that she got this deal, in my opinion, is what possible information she might have. This is how a RICO case tends to work. You make some of the lower level people flip on the bigger person. And that's what's going on here. So I do think this is a big, big danger to Giuliani. After all, look, they traveled the country together. They were in meetings together. They had phone calls together. They were almost always together in all of this stuff. And so the only instances in the indictment that Ellis was mentioned without Giuliani was when she had written a pair of memos, allegedly ahead of January 6th, strategizing how Vice President Mike Pence could participate in overturning the results of Congress, the results in Congress that day. So that's the certification thing. So notable. That said, Giuliani had already kind of gotten ahead on this. Oh, interesting. In fact, back in the summertime, he said this, quote, "There is no one who was more zealous about the fact that this was a stolen election than Jenna Ellis." And I think that anyone on that team would testify for that. Wow. So Giuliani is like, don't you dare flip and try to blame it all on me. Oh, no, I'm going to come out ahead of time. Look, do I think that Giuliani's that smart? Well, that's a tough question. Because I don't really think he's smart at all. At the same time, maybe he had enough, foresight to be like, Jenna Ellis, you know what I'm saying? She tries to pin this whole thing on me. Or maybe it's just Giuliani being Giuliani. And at the time, she was an ally. And so it's one of those things where, oh, no, Jenna Ellis, fantastic, great. I traveled the country with her. And she even let me fart in her face, fart in her face. I mean, and she didn't yell at me for it. Wonderful. I don't know. I can't really get in the mind of Giuliani unless I've had, I don't know, like about 14, 15 beers, perhaps. Perhaps more, like a 24-pack. I don't know. That said, it's going to be really interesting to see whether or not she testifies against Giuliani. His case is coming up in Fulton County on December 11th. And it's going to be interesting to see if she's called and what her argument's going to be. Is it going to be that she, that he knew better, that the other lawyers had known better, or if they were as incompetent as she was? I don't know. With Giuliani, you could go either way and make arguments to whether or not he is incompetent, or that he knew what he was doing in trying to, overturn the election, knowing that it was all based on a lie. Again, with Giuliani, you don't really know. It is interesting, though, to see Letitia James' strategy kind of unfold. Getting the lower level people, as I mentioned, to flip on the higher people, and this is a great example of that. You see these dominoes that are continuing to fall, and I'm just wondering who the next one to flip is. I mean, Giuliani would be a big, big one, and certainly there is more than enough pressure on him to flip on Donald Trump, who was the ultimate target